Good morning, everybody. We're live here from the birdhouse. It is July 18th. We are in mid-July, but that doesn't mean you can't still attract a whole bunch of different birds to your backyard. So today I'll show you some of the different products people are having success with in order to attract a large diversity of birds to their backyards. As always, we want to know what kind of things you're seeing. You can throw those in the comments. If you have any questions, you can put those in there as well. Or you can just say hi. We always love to know who's on, so you can say hi in the comments also. And if you have any kind of things that are working well for you, absolutely throw those in there and throw in your sightings, not just of birds, but other things you're seeing too. We were giving an update on Saturday about a bunch of different butterflies and things people were seeing, so we always love to know that as well. I've been getting my first monarch butterflies in the backyard, which has been really, really exciting. They're all over the milkweed. So now is about the time to look for those eggs because they are laying eggs on the milkweed plants. We actually have some monarch butterfly caterpillars here too in the store. If you want to see what they look like, we do have a tub with a few of them in there, some eggs and some caterpillars, and as the days go on and they eat more and more, they get really big really quickly. So now is the time of year to be looking for that kind of a thing also. So the first thing, as far as attracting birds to your backyard, if you're looking for the biggest diversity, you can't go wrong with a sunflower seed mix any time of the year. So our best seller is this one called Chickadee, and there's a lot of sunflower seed in it, but there's also peanuts in it, which they really like. And then there's the shelled sunflower, or the sunflower hearts. And the sunflower hearts are good for the smaller birds like chickadees and finches. The finches especially will eat the sunflower hearts because it's easy for them to eat. Some of the larger seeds in here, like the striped sunflower, might be too big for them to crack open. But they love that striped sunflower. So all year long, you can't go wrong with a sunflower seed blend, and our chickadee blend is the best seller here at the store. And then also a tube feeder that's easy to clean is really great, especially in the summer months as we are getting some rain here and there and storms. If any kind of water gets in here, it can make it moldy at the bottom. So having a feeder that's easy to clean is always good. So a lot of these tube feeders now have faces that just pop right out, so they're super easy to clean. And they have a lifetime warranty on them too. So even if a squirrel chews through it, it's covered by the warranty. And we do also have squirrel-proof feeders too. If you've got a squirrel issue, which most people do, we do have squirrel-proof feeders that really work really, really well. And when you're looking for a tube feeder, having something with large perches like this is really good to get you the bigger birds like cardinals and the smaller birds as well. Or you can always add a tray to the bottom if you've got a smaller feeder with just little stick perches. You can't go wrong with just adding a tray to the bottom, and that'll catch any kind of loose seeds that you might have. So another thing I should mention too, if you're having squirrel problems, is this is super popular. This is called Flaming Hot Feast. We do have this in loose seed that you can just pour into your feeder, or we have it in logs like this. We even have it in suet cake forms like this. And there's a good mix of seeds in here, peanuts and sunflower hearts, and even mealworms in there for the bluebirds if you happen to have them, or wrens, or even orioles. But because it's treated with hot sauce, squirrels don't eat it. So the squirrels can taste that hot sauce. They have more taste buds than the birds do. So the squirrels won't eat this, but the birds absolutely love it. So this is really, really popular, and it lasts a long time too. So with loose seed, usually the birds, they just kind of land on the feeder, they grab a seed and fly away. With something like this, they kind of have to peck away at it, so it takes a longer time for them to go through it. So these last quite a long time. And you don't need anything super fancy to put it on. There's a little hole that's drilled in the center of the seed log, and it just sits onto a feeder like this, and then the birds will perch on the perch here, and that's all there is to it. So those are really, really popular, especially this flavor, if you will, called Flaming Hot Feast. We do have them in different types. We have woodpecker logs. We have one called bugs, nuts, and fruit, which is really popular. So we've got a mix of a whole bunch of different things as far as those go, as far as the seed logs go. And then there are a lot of goldfinches out there, and we do have goldfinches all year round, although in the The winter months, they're not the bright gold that they are right now, but you can attract them with this finch mix, especially is our best seller called Finch Favorite. And not only do finches like this, but other birds do too. It's a mix of Niger and ground up sunflower hearts. So it fits into your finch feeder, which is going to be a different feeder than the sunflower seed feeder. So something like this is a finch feeder that has really, really small holes. You can kind of see them, they're really, really tiny there because the seeds are so small. So the goldfinches are still here. They nest really late in the season, so they're just nesting right about now. And once their young come out, they'll come back to your feeders. And then if you are also having issues with sparrows at your Niger feeders, we have this feeder here called a bottoms up feeder. And the difference between this and a normal Niger feeder is that the perches are below, or the feeding ports are below the perches. So in order to feed, the bird has to actually tip over upside down. And goldfinches can do this, chickadees can do this, but sparrows have an issue with feeding upside down. So that's one way to keep sparrows at bay if you're having an issue with them eating everything in your yard, which is what is happening to me and a lot of you guys out there. Another thing you can do if you've got sparrows or even starlings that are eating a lot of your suet, we have what are called upside down suet feeders. And it's kind of the same idea as that Niger feeder. The birds have to cling upside down in order to feed. So the suet, this just opens up, your suet goes inside, and the woodpeckers, the nuthatches, chickadees, they can all cling upside down to feed from that. But the sparrows and starlings and grackles, if you've got grackles that are eating you out of house and home, they can't do that very easily. So this is a really good way to still feed suet and get your woodpeckers, but you don't have to worry about some of those other birds that can just go through the food super, super fast. People are getting hummingbirds here and there. We've been saying kind of throughout the whole season that they're not in the bigger and very big numbers at all that we've seen in previous years. So their numbers seem to be down quite a bit, but there are different ways you can attract them. Of course, plants, they love tubular, bright red, bright orange, bright purple plants that are nectar producing. So that's a great way to attract them. And then there's different feeders too. So if you have a hummingbird feeder, a lot of kind of basic, typical hummingbird feeders like this are perfect. They're easy to clean. And they do have what's called an ant moat in the center. And it's a pretty good feature. So if you've got one of these feeders, take a look at it because it's got some things on it that you might want to take advantage of now that we're getting in later into the season where there's a lot of insects out there. So these kind of basic dish feeders in the center here have what's called an ant moat. And it's a little place where you can put water. So the nectar goes into this large reservoir here around the outside, but water goes in the center. And the idea with this is when you've got this hanging up, say on a hook or tree, wherever you've got it, the ants, if they try to climb down the stem here, they can't get around the water to get into the nectar. So that works really, really well. This also has the ability to put bee guards on it. So this is the bottom part of the feeding ports here. And you can see there's little kind of protrusions there that stick out. And you can put what are called nectar guard tips. You can kind of see them here on the inside of it. And they're just little rubber tips that go right on this piece here. And the idea with that is that the hummingbirds can use their beak to poke right through it. They're kind of perforated so they can just poke right through it, but bees and wasps can't because they just have short little tongues. They can't poke through it to get to the nectar. So there's some different ways to keep the bees and the ants and the wasps at bay from your hummingbird feeder. Another thing I should mention, if you don't have a feeder that has an ant moat, you can always add one. These are perfect for that. We have them in different colors, but the clear one is great because you can always see when it needs to be refilled. You just fill this with water and then you hang your feeder from it. And again, the ants can't get around the water to get to your feeder. So really, really popular this time of the year when we've got lots of bees and ants and wasps out there. We've got some different things to help you control them at your feeders. Another thing sometimes people do is they make a really, really sugary solution and put that kind of farther away from their feeders. So whereas hummingbird nectar is usually 1 part sugar to 4 parts water, people will make a 1-to-1 ratio and put that elsewhere, so the bees and wasps will go to that really, really sugary solution and then kind of leave the feeders alone. So that can work a little bit too if you're having an issue with them. We also have these brushes to clean out the feeder ports, so it's really important to keep your feeders clean and make sure that there's no mold or anything like that. And so we've got these brushes, both these little ones for the feeding ports and then larger ones that'll clean the whole feeder. And another very popular product is this, what's called Nectar Defender. This keeps nectar fresh longer than not using anything alone. It's just natural micronutrients. You add a little bit of this to your nectar and it keeps it fresh for more like a week or 10 days instead of just a few days. So that's a really popular product, especially if you're going out of town for any extended amount of time. You can still leave your feeder up as long as you put a little bit of this in it, and it'll keep the nectar fresh for longer. As far as hummingbirds go, they are very territorial also. So your best bet as far as if you want to attract a whole bunch of them is to put several feeders out in spaces where they can't see one another. So you don't need to have a one really large feeder. You can have several small feeders. These are really popular as well. This is a little hummingbird feeder that goes into a planter box. It comes with a little stake, and it's just a tiny little hummingbird feeder here, and you can put that in a planter box if you've got a hanging basket, or even in your garden, because the hummingbirds will naturally feed low from flowering plants, so it doesn't have to be something that's up really, really high. And then this one's also popular. It looks like a little mason jar. So this is a cute little feeder also. Again, doesn't hold that much, but you don't need it to hold that much because we don't really have a lot of hummingbirds here this year. So, and we only do have the one species, the ruby-throated hummingbird. So you're not going to get a whole slew of hummingbirds usually at one feeder. And then something else you can try if you don't want to put the nectar out, if you're not having luck with the nectar, you don't feel like messing with it or having to refill it often. We do have this one, which is called the Humbug feeder, something totally different. The inside, this opens up, and on the inside, you are supposed to put banana peels. And the idea with this is that those banana peels will attract fruit flies, and hummingbirds eat fruit flies. They do eat small little insects, little spiders, and this is what they call a hummingbird protein feeder. So this is a spot for them to get some of that insect protein. So the red will bring in the hummingbirds, and the fruit flies are crawling all around the feeder, and they'll just fly around and pick off the fruit flies from this. So something totally different, but it's way less maintenance if you're looking for a way to still attract hummingbirds, but you don't want to have to deal with changing out your nectar too often. So those are some hummingbird things we have, and we are getting reports over the past week or two, a lot of reports of orioles coming back to feeders with their babies, and this is one of our best-selling feeders here. This is an oriole feeder, and it gives you a space for grape jelly on the top. You can also put mealworms in there. You could put I would do freeze-dried mealworms because it's not too deep. You don't want the live ones to crawl out. But right now, the orioles are definitely eating the grape jelly and the mealworms, it seems, more so than anything else. They're not so much going to the nectar in the feeders so much anymore, probably because there's a lot of flowering plants out right now that they can get nectar from. And oranges kind of seem hit or miss with people as the season goes on. So if you're trying to attract orioles, or if they left for a few weeks, couldn't hurt if you especially if you still have some jelly, put your jelly back out. You might be surprised. You might get those young coming back with their parents. The parents are showing them where the feeders are, where their food sources are. So this is probably our best-selling feeder as far as oriole feeders go, but we do sell a lot of this one as well. It has a weather guard in it, and it has a spot for 2 cups, so you can put jelly in one and mealworms in the other, and a lot of people do that, so that way you've got all your bases covered as far as the orioles go. And for jelly, the birdberry jelly is Really the thing that attracts them the best. This is a mix of grape and blackberry, which they really like. And there's no preservatives, there's no artificial sweeteners, nothing like that. So it's completely safe for the birds, and they absolutely love it. And we do have mealworms, which isn't for everybody as far as feeding goes. We have big tubs of live meal or of freeze-dried mealworms. We've got big bags of freeze-dried mealworms, and we also have live mealworms here as well. And the birds do prefer the live mealworms, but they'll still eat the freeze-dried ones. So you've got the options there. And then, of course, we have houses for other things, not just birds, and we've got houses to attract other animals and critters as well that they'll use throughout the summer. Like this is just a little ceramic, what's called a toad house. And these work especially well if you put them by a porch light at night, someplace that attracts a lot of insects. So it's just really a little dome. Some people make these on their own. If you've got a flower pot that's kind of broken, you can just kind of chip away at it till it's got a little door like this. And the idea is the toad will go inside here during the day, kind of rest and relax and stay out of, stay sheltered. And then at night, they'll come out and they'll eat bugs. So these work especially well at attracting toads if you put them by a porch light is what really works. And early in the season, we talk about mason bees all the time, and attracting mason bees with a mason bee house. And we're really out of mason bee season now. They come out in, mid-April or so, usually around the 10th, 12th, something like that of April. And they're around for several weeks, and then they die off after they lay their eggs. But later on in the season, we also have what are called leafcutter bees. And sometimes leafcutter bees will use these mason bee houses as well. So the mason bees will cap these off with mud, but if you're seeing some plant debris, like little pieces of leaves or grasses sticking out of your mason bee house, it's probably going to be leafcutter bees. So I've got some that are going into one of my houses, one of my mason bee houses, and we've had other customers say that too. So that's still a possibility. So if you're seeing some kind of activity around your mason bee house, it's probably not mason bees right now, but it could be leafcutter bees. So just something to be out on the lookout for. We do have some other fun things that have come in. You've probably seen on the news that Rochester is going to be right in the path of the eclipse next year in April. I believe it's on April 8th. We have the eclipse glasses in stock. We have 4 packs. We've got just the single glasses that you can buy individually. And then we also have these books too that come with a couple pairs of glasses. So not only is the big eclipse, it's April 8th, and it's going to be, we're in the direct path, so we'll have a full eclipse here in Rochester. But then there's also an annual eclipse on October 14th, and you can use these glasses for both. So apparently they sell out really quickly any place that is in the pathway of the eclipse. So you want to make sure to get these early, and we have plenty of them in stock for you right now if you're looking for eclipse stuff. We also just started carrying some telescopes as well from Celestron, so we've got some stargazing things in the store too that we haven't had previously. And then finally, if you're looking for some different books and field guides to help you identify what you're seeing in your yard, I haven't brought this one up recently, but this is a great book. This is by far our best-selling book in the store, and it's Birds of New York. It's not every single possible bird that you'll see in New York, but it is all the most common ones, and it's all organized by color. So if you see a bird that has a certain color on it, like green, you go to the green section and it shows you all the possibilities. So this one is really, really popular, very easy to go through, and by far our bestseller. So if you're looking for a good bird book, especially if you're kind of new to this Birds of New York is great. And it'll also tell you not only the range maps of the birds, but how many broods, so how many rounds of young they have, which is a question we get all the time from people here. How many broods do robins have or bluebirds each year? So that's really popular for that. And then we've been talking about different bugs and insects in the garden. If you are trying to do butterfly gardening, I love this book. It's called The Life Cycles of Butterflies. And what's cool about it is that it will show you not only what host plants they'll go to, so what plants they'll lay their eggs on, but it shows you their whole life cycle. So this, for example, is a life cycle of the common buckeye. It'll show you what the egg looks like, and then each instar of their larva of the caterpillar, because as they grow, they tend to look different in each what's called an instar. They'll shed their skin, and sometimes they can have kind of different, even different coloration with each little instar. So this is a really, really good book if you are doing some butterfly gardening and you want to learn more about the different host plants and what these caterpillars look like once you get them to your yard. And then just in general, insect guides. This is my absolute favorite. I've yet to find one that I like better than this. This is a guide to insects of all North America. So it doesn't have every single insect you'll find, but 9 times out of 10, you'll find whatever bug you're looking for is in this book. It's really, really good, easy to use. It's all laid out really well. So if you're getting into insects in your backyard and you want to know what you're seeing, this is a great, great book. I love this book. So this is the Kaufman Guide to Insects. And then 2 other books that have been really popular if you're looking for things to do this summer. The Hiking Waterfalls New York book by local author and photographer couple, Randy and Nick Minotaur, is a very, very good seller, and it shows all kinds of different waterfalls that are in the area. So this is a great book. And then this is a newer book, but this has been so popular, Day Trips Around Rochester. And we have a lot of these, and they are all signed by the author. So this is a brand new book, and this has been very, very popular. You've probably seen ads for it on social media and everything. And we've got plenty of those in stock as well. So that's what I've got prepared for you. It looks like some of you guys are on today. Randy is on and says, good morning. Hi, everybody. Stephanie is on and says, good morning. Steel Monkey is on and says, I was so excited about finally catching this show live that I forgot my question, but I know what you mean, Liz. I bought some nice feeders and the squirrels chewed them all up. Yes. So a lot of feeders, depending on the brand, do have warranty. So check out the brand name. And I'm not sure if you're local or not. You can always bring it into the store here and we can see if we can fix it for you. We are a service center and we do service on the bird feeders that we sell that do have lifetime warranty, so we can always do that. But if you're out of town, you can always contact the company directly and see if you can get parts, because sometimes you can get parts to repair them. Lynn is on and she says, good morning. I've seen 2 monarchs so far. We are having a problem with house sparrows taking over all the feeders and driving away my orioles and finches. This is the first year this has happened here. What is happening? So if they're scaring away the finches, it could be the younger ones are that when they're leaving the nest, they're kind of exploring and checking out different feeders. As far as keeping them away from the oriole feeders, there's not too much you can do. I had sparrows eating the jelly out of my oriole feeder this year like crazy, which I'd never had before, so I don't know what the deal with that is. So there's not too much you can do about keeping them out of your oriole feeder, but you can keep them out of your finch feeder by switching to one of these bottoms up feeders where the finches feed upside down, and the sparrows have an issue doing that. They can't really do that too easily. So this is one thing that you can do. It can take the finches a little bit of time to get used to that whole process of doing that, but once they do, it can really limit the sparrows that you have. So unfortunately, that is a big problem right now with a lot of people, because there's lots of sparrows out there and they just have round after round of babies. Doug is on. He says, hi, Liz. I may come to the store today or tomorrow to buy some seed logs. Well, we've got them for you. We get them in fresh every week, once a week. So you know that they are always fresh when you buy them here. So it looks like that's everybody's comments and questions for the day. We'll be back on Saturday with another broadcast. And until then, enjoy your week and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.